I guess more so than anything, like I'm just interested in kind of the vibes of it all. And again, I can understand like the criticisms of it though, but I do generally like this movie, which is why I absolutely bought it on, Ultra HD 4K. So that makes enough sense to me. The next thing I watched was actually in reference to Totally Fucked Up. I decided that because I wanted to do the episode, I actually recorded, you may have already heard if you heard them, I recorded that one last. I actually did Nowhere. I did Doom Generation first and then Nowhere. And then literally I did Totally Fucked Up last for my Teen Apocalypse trilogy episodes. So I watched Masculine Feminine from 1966 because this is, like the movie that, Godard did, Jean-Luc Godard, and all this. For me, so if you don't know what this is about this guy Paul. He's like this young guy who's trying to figure out what the fuck to do with his life in France, I guess Paris. He takes this job like interviewing different people for this marketing firm. He moves in with this aspiring pop singer named Madeline or whatever. And yeah, it's told in these different like vignettes and stuff like that. And for me, listen, I did not go to film school by any means. So for me, I am not somebody who is like, I'm not totally like immersed in some of the different kind of classic subcultures and or different foreign films all the time and whatever. If this movie is any sort of like representation of what French New Wave is, I don't know how much it's going to be for me, because I really couldn't rate this. I didn't particularly enjoy my time with it necessarily. I just found it kind of boring, honestly. So unless you want to like go and tell me about like why this movie is important or like why I should enjoy it, maybe I don't really know. If you feel strongly enough to, like, please do so, like email me, I guess, or DM me, I don't know, but I just didn't really care for it a whole lot personally. And again, I just I don't know, I ended up liking Totally Fucked Up a little bit more, but that's also because I'm gay. Okay, so but I just was like, oh, okay, fine. And again, one of those things is just also like I not that I don't want to watch like French cinema or whatever, but I don't know. And it's not like I don't even like, I like old movies. Like I do enjoy that, but it's also just a thing of like, I guess I want there to be like something more interesting going on. Perhaps that's what it seems like to me, at least. So that's how I kind of felt about it. The next thing I watched was actually from 1985. This is a movie that is about, it's called Heaven Help Us. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's about this boy, Michael, played by Andrew McCarthy. Yes. He is coming into this new boys' school. He's a new student at this place in Brooklyn, and he befriends all these different misfits in his class. Plus, he also comes into contact with this young lady who runs like a little like with her, well, her family does, but she's definitely there a lot. This girl played by Mary Stuart Masterson in an early role of hers. But yeah, this movie is like, it's pretty cool. I really enjoyed it personally. I gave it a 4, and yeah, I did like it. There's something about it. This movie also has like Donald Sutherland in it, has John Hurt in it. We also have like some of the classmates. You have like Kevin Dillon's here, Malcolm Danare as well, a couple different people. Wallace Shawn's even in this movie. That's kind of fun. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting time in my opinion. Even Patrick Dempsey shows up like in a little small role. But yeah, I ended up watching this. I think it was because This Ends at Prom they re-released this episode because the guest that they had has actually since passed away, Margot Donahue, I believe. And so she was from like Brooklyn or whatever, and so she guested on their podcast before, and so they kind of just re-released it, which makes sense. And so yeah, and I just listened to some of that episode. I don't think I finished it, but yeah, it was a pretty cool little movie. Like this is just something where it's like mid 80s, like sort of like teen cinema, it's like teen boy cinema in a way, but there's also like teen girls in the midst of that as well, because that's where we have Mary Stuart Masterson, Yardley Smith's even in this movie. It was like her first movie ever, and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, so I would check out Heaven Help Us, and it was on HBO. So if you have HBO at all, it might show up there every so often. So if you want to, go out and check it. The next thing I watched, I did take a few days where I just wasn't watching a ton of movies all the time. I was watching a fair amount of Living Single, though, I will say that. So I'll tell you that much. But yeah, so I then came back, though, after deciding to watch some movies, I guess. I decided I wanted to pull up, because I am doing an episode on this that actually comes out this Wednesday. But I sat down and I watched Grease 2 from 1982. If you don't know what Grease 2 is about, it is the sequel to Grease from 1978. This is about it's still about the T-Birds and it's still about the Pink Ladies. We have Maxwell Caulfield playing this guy who's just coming to America. We have Michelle Pfeiffer in like one of her early roles. Adrian Zmed, he's also here too. And just like, it's just like a weird movie, man. It's such campy fun in my opinion, you know. Like I just said, like, you could really tell that like a choreographer is in the director's seat, because, you know, this choreographer Patricia Birch, like, she did the first movie, she did a bunch of different movies, of course, too, as a choreographer. But like, I just really enjoyed it. I can't help being just a fan of this movie. I think it's a really fun one personally, and I don't know, I don't take it too seriously, I guess. So I can't like and plus I'm also not the person to be like, I just hate Grease 2 so much but I really love Grease, or like, oh, I hate Grease so much but I love Grease 2. I'm just not that person really, and so like for me, like, this is just a kind of stupid campy time, honestly, and that's what I take it as. So that's what I'm interested in for sure. The next thing I watched was actually because I am also doing an episode on this because I'm doing back to school. Okay, that's the theme this month, if you didn't already, you know, kind of gather that. But yeah, I decided I wanted to watch a movie that I had no idea about, but I had heard of course, and I decided to hit up School of Rock from 2003. This is a movie. It's a Jack Black movie. It is also directed by Richard Linklater, and this is about a guy named Dewey Finn, who's Jack Black. He is fired from his band. He has to come up with rent money for his roommate and his roommate's girlfriend, played by Mike White and Sarah Silverman, respectively. But he finagles his way into a job as a substitute at this like private school run by Joan Cusack, and he ends up learning. He ends up kind of teaching these kids about rock and roll and like being in a band and like all the things that come along with that. But also he sees them for more of what they are, and he's able to foster a love of music and all this stuff in them, and able to go rock out at the Battle of the Bands pretty much. But yeah, I liked this little movie. I gave it a 3.5 and a little heart. I just said, why am I Billy though? Not that I'm like super stylish or anything. I'm really not, like, at all. But like, I just am like, he's very much like he's the kid who says, you're tacky and I hate you, which is what many gays like to just say, you know, in jest, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's just like fun that he's just like this little gay kid, and I like that. But this also has like Miranda Cosgrove in it, and like a couple different people as well. So yeah, I liked this little movie. It was cute. It was on Paramount Plus. I think it was also on like I think it was on Peacock or something like that too. But I ended up watching it, and I enjoyed myself personally. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. Along with how I said I had the Hedwig and the Angry Inch Criterion, which I bought on the sale, because it was that sale that happened, and then the Arrow sale that happened as well. And so I picked up some stuff from Arrow as well. I had picked up Deep Blue Sea, Jason X, and the Texas Chainsaw remake. I picked up those three, I think, from Arrow on their sale, which I think is still going on actually. But Criterion had their sale, and I picked up some stuff from them too. But I decided to watch, because I think you can find this on YouTube as well, but it is on the Criterion of Hedwig and the Angry Inch. I decided to watch, whether you like it or not, the story of Hedwig. And so for those who may not know, this is a documentary, which is pretty much about the creation of the stage musical of Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and then ultimately the movie that they ended up making. This is also like pre 9/11, which is really interesting to kind of look at and see, just like how they kind of talk about stuff and how they're, you know, just kind of going through. It's like 85 minutes, but I really liked it, actually. It was really cool to see just the different people and just how this kind of developed, because I don't know if I was super lukewarm on Hedwig by any means. Like when I first watched it, I never watched it before, but I do find, I think I said this last month or whenever I watched it, but I think for me, like, this is definitely something where I can return back to this, and I think I'll end up liking it more as I've watched it, because if anything, I liked John Cameron Mitchell's movie Short Bus. I do like that movie. And so this one, the Hedwig movie, which is obviously his most well-known movie, obviously, I just think I'll end up liking it on a rewatch too, which is nice. So that's always good to have. The next thing I watched after that was also on Canopy. And, I decided to hit up a movie from 2023. And this is a movie called Eileen. If you don't know what Eileen's about, so it is based off of a book. And so this is about Massachusetts, Winter, Massachusetts. This is this lady by the name of Eileen. She becomes enchanted with this woman, Rebecca, who's working at this prison she works at, played by Anne Hathaway. And so their friendship takes like a turn, and there's just some weird shit going on, man. Thomasin McKenzie plays Eileen, and so just some things going on, dude. My comment for it was just like, sisters are doing it for themselves, kind of, and if you know, like, listen. I also did wonder too, like, were they also shooting? Okay, so the girls who know, anybody who knows Yorgos Lanthimos movies, because I've watched like 2 of his movies at least now. I do have Dogtooth on the list though, so I will watch that at some point. But I just wondered, I was like, so there's a scene in the basement that I won't talk too much about. Okay, if you know, okay, we'll go out and watch Eileen then if you want to know what I'm talking about. But there is this scene that takes place in the basement, and I was just wondering, like, was it the same basement that was from like The Killing of a Sacred Deer? You know what I mean? And for the girls who know, they know, like, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, it made me think, I guess. I was just like, I don't know, maybe, but probably not. But it's fine. I mean, this movie was obviously shot years later, so it makes enough sense. But yeah. But Eileen was good though. I did like it. I did enjoy that movie, as much as you could enjoy it, I guess. The next thing I watched was actually because it was in celebration of Texas Chainsaw Day, okay, which is August 18th, 1973. So anytime August 18th shows up, it guess it's Texas Chainsaw Day. They actually did have it in theaters for the one day. I didn't go and see that, but I did end up watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974 on that day. I watched it on Shudder or Peacock. I think it was Peacock actually. But yeah, like, if you don't know what this is about, it's about these group of friends who go out to visit this grave, and they end up coming across this like deserted house in the middle of Texas, and then some shit goes down pretty much. I've done an episode where I've covered the whole series with Pickens before, and I might do I kind of want to do like just a standalone episode of this movie as well, but yeah, I really like this movie. It's not for everybody, obviously, but I do generally like the Texas Chainsaw movies, like, sometimes, and the original one for me is just something where I am fascinated by it. I also do like the remake personally. I don't dislike it, and I think they both have something to offer, and they're both just doing a little bit of different things. They're just, this one is definitely just the iconic one for sure, but yeah, I like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre personally, because that's just the kind of person I am. But yeah, so the next thing I watched was still in the vein of horror, but it is a little bit different. We're going back to school a little bit, and I will be covering this. I still need to record the episode actually, but I wanted to pull up on Cry Wolf from not 1995, 2005. This is the feature directorial debut of Jeff Wadlow, who's done movies like Kick-Ass 2 and like Imaginary and Truth or Dare and stuff like that. So yeah, but this is his first movie he ever did. This is about this group of teenagers at a boarding school. They pretty much make up a killer named the Wolf, and yeah, they're like playing this big game of pretty much mafia, I guess, but over the internet. And yeah, then people end up really dead, and like the whole thing goes along and whatever. Yeah, so this movie, for me at least, I don't know. I did watch it on Fandango at home. I watched the unrated cut, which is like 10 seconds difference, I think. And for me at least, like, I just didn't particularly care for this movie a whole lot. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. I do understand the vision though. I mean, this is Jeff Wadlow's first movie. I will talk more about it in the episode, but it actually was won from a contest, which is kind of interesting. And yeah, and I'm sure there'll be more retrospectives coming down the line, mind because it does turn 20 now, like, which is kind of crazy to think. But yeah, it's interesting if anything. But this film, I don't know, it's just something where it is a Rogue picture, I believe, so it is in the same sort of vein as like not the same thing as like the Saw movies or whatever, but like, you know, we are talking like it's a Universal picture, so that makes enough sense. And yeah, like I get what the vision is, but you know, for me it just didn't completely work. I do think it would be interesting, I'm not gonna lie, for any of the girlies out there who like a double feature, I would do this movie with Stay Alive, actually, because they're both around the same time. They both have computers involved, or like, I guess Stay Alive is a video game technically, but this is like computer. It's American Online. It's like chatting and stuff. So I don't know. I think that would be interesting, and also both movies are also very highly panned as well. But I'm just interested if any of the girlies want to, you know, do that. I think that would be kind of a fun little double feature. It's like a different side of a similar coin. These are also teen horror movies. They were both PG-13. They both have unrated cuts technically too, although the Stay Alive one is a little bit longer than this one, but still it is interesting to kind of see this and to just see what they were trying to do. And I guess you'll hear more about my thoughts on it when I actually do the episode on it. So there is that. The next thing I watched, we're going back into classic cinema, and I decided to pull up, finally, I don't remember where I watched it on. It might have been, was it Canopy, I think, or something like that? I decided to finally pull up on Strangers on a Train. For those who may not know, this is a Alfred Hitchcock movie based off of a Patricia Highsmith novel. For those who may not know, Patricia Highsmith was a anti-Semite, a queer anti-Semite by no less, but this movie is, and she's also the same person who wrote the Talented Mr. Ripley, which then got turned into like the movie and stuff. And any sort of like Talented Mr. Ripley stuff is all from that book, pretty much. But this was the movie, or this was really the story, Strangers on a Train, that really got her noticed, and also this movie got noticed as well because, of course, it's a Alfred Hitchcock movie, and it's also been remade a little bit or in different ways. You know, Throw 'Em Out from the Train a little bit is kind of like that. Most notably, for the girlies who like this movie, Do Revenge from 2022, I think, or whenever that came out, with Camila Mendes and Maya Hawke. That's also a retelling of Strangers on a Train for those who may not know, but it kind of all comes back to this movie as well. But if you don't know what this movie is about, it's about these two men who meet on a train. One is played by Farley Granger, who plays Guy, and then we have Robert Walker, who plays Bruno. Bruno is the one who's a little bit of a psychopath, and he shares this theory on, pretty much like he thinks that like he wants to have his father killed, and then there's this amateur tennis player that he meets, played by Farley Granger, and he, I guess, wants his wife or like ex-girlfriend to be killed. And well, some stuff happens with Bruno's character, and he may or may not have killed this woman. And so now it's just like a whole thing that he has to do, and it's just like kind of a cat and mouse sort of thing going on. There's gratuitous like tennis shots in this movie because like one of the guys is a tennis player. He's an amateur tennis player, but he's like trying to be more professional, if you will. But yeah, no, I think it's a pretty good time. Like, I gave it a 4 and a little heart. I'm sure we could go into all sorts of things about it, but I really do. I like this movie. I think it's one of like, I haven't watched a ton of Hitchcock movies, but I do think that this is a really good one personally. And I also just think like it's so understandable that like people have pulled from this movie and just the source material and all that stuff, because it is in my opinion, it's a very compelling film. And also I do think there's something to be said for like there being a queer subtext to it as well, which is also really interesting because you know, like gay stuff here. But yeah, so there's that. the next thing I watched was actually to kind of complete out my watching of Greg Rocki's films I could get my hands on. So I'm pretty sure I've watched just about every movie he's done now. I haven't watched his short films, and I have not watched like Now Apocalypse and stuff, but I will say most of the other movies I have at least seen them now. And I pulled up on Splendor from 1999. For those who may not know, this movie is about, it's about pretty much a throuple, I guess. Veronica, who's played by Kathleen Robertson from 90210, and like she's been on different things. She is looking for a man in Los Angeles because she's an actress, and while slam dancing at a Halloween rave, she meets this guy Abel, who's played by Jonathan Scheck, a hotness extraordinaire, and then she also meets Zed, played by Matt Kiesler from Scream 3, and he's like a super sexy tattooed drummer with like these great biceps, right? And so who will she choose? But she ends up choosing both of them, really. And then we have this guy Ernest who's thrown into the mix. That is, oh god, what the hell, who the hell is he? Wait a minute, hold on. Eric Mabius, that's who that is, you know, from Welcome to the Dollhouse and Cruel Intentions and all the things. But yeah, no, this was a fun one. I also like how Kelly Macdonald's in this movie. She plays Mike, who is like her girlfriend pretty much. Who's like, I think, a lesbian, we're supposed to assume. For those who may not know, Kelly Macdonald is from Trainspotting. She plays the technically underage girl that Ewan McGregor's character is involved with. But she's so fucking good in that movie, and she's really fun in this movie too. I definitely want to do Splendor on the show at some point. I think it's just such a fun, a little film. Personally, I gave it a 4 and a little heart. I just think this movie is kind of a great example of what Greg Rocki's done in his filmmaking, and also just like, yeah, it's for those who may or may not know, I don't really love the movie Threesome from Andrew Fleming. I don't love that movie a whole lot. I like Lara Flynn Boyle sometimes, but like I'm not a huge fan on that film. But this one I really did like. I've also been trying to, and by also I mean I have such a bad attention span, if you couldn't already tell. I've been trying to watch, speaking of Lara Flynn Boyle, I was trying to watch some of like Twin Peaks, because I really do want to finish that like show. I've almost finished the first season, and then I need to do the second season and watch Fire Walk with Me and all this stuff, because I do want to do that movie on the show. Like I do want to do the Fire Walk with Me movie, because I already have a guest thought of and everything like that. But it does take a minute for me to get through that kind of stuff. Plus, again, also very busy living single schedule, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. I like this more than I liked Threesome that I ever would have. So there's that personally. We're getting the home stretch here. But the next thing I watched was actually from 1996, and it is called The Frighteners. This is a movie that is by Peter Jackson. This is before he did Lord of the Rings, obviously. This is about a man by the name of Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox. He once was a architect, but now he is like this exorcist of evil souls, I guess. But really his whole thing is that, he claims that he got this because he got into this car accident with his wife, and then because he had a near-death experience, now he sees these people. He actually uses these different spirits that he is like in cahoots with to like do all these things, which is why he's kind of a con, honestly. But some shit's been going down personally with a local family. Dee Wallace is the daughter in this movie to this older lady or whatever. But yeah, it's just interesting. Trini Alvarado's there as well. She plays like I guess is she an FBI agent? I don't remember. I think she kind of is, actually. But anyway, either way, but like there's just a lot going on in this movie. But I didn't dislike my watch of it. I actually think this is a pretty cool movie. I mean, it's from 1996, so some of the CGI is very much like how you would think of in like Casper a little bit, but I'm actually not mad at that. That is not a bad thing in my book, to be honest. I think this is very much a horror comedy. For those who may not already know, like this is a Robert Zemeckis like produced movie. And I think it was actually supposed to be a Tales from the Crypt film, from what I understand. And it makes a whole lot of sense if that's the case, because I'm just like, yeah, no, like very similar to like how like Death Becomes Her, I think was supposed to be that. Even like From Dusk Till Dawn was supposed to be that too. And then we ended up getting Demon Knight, which was like the first movie that they did, in the Tales from the Crypt Presents like series or whatever, because they'd had like the Tales from the Crypt movie in the 70s, and then they even had Vault of Horror and stuff like that. But, Demon Knight was the first one they did actually, but then The Frighteners I think was all supposed to be that too, but then it ended up not actually working out and doing all that, and instead they did Bordello of Blood. But this movie I thought was really fun, and maybe some people forget about it a little bit or whatever, but I actually really liked it personally. Like I'm not opposed to it. The next thing I watched was actually kind of it was in preparation for a guest spot I did, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I decided to watch The Passion of Joan of Arc. I also tried watching the Saint Joan movie from the 50s from Otto Preminger. I didn't end up finishing that though, but I did end up finishing The Passion of Joan of Arc, which was on Criterion Channel. This is a Carl Theodor Dreyer movie. It's a silent film from 1928, I believe. And this pretty much tells the story of the trial of Joan of Arc, which is this like young lady who was a teenage warrior pretty much. She is just subjected to really bad treatment and scare tactics at the hands of these different church officials, the court officials, and then she is burned at the stake, of course. But yeah, it was a really interesting movie. I think it was only like 70 minutes or something like that, or like 70. It was 82 minutes. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and people really like this movie for just like how it's kind of put on, how it's done. But then also just like that it was lost for a long time and then it's been refound. So yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting story to say the least. And I'm glad I watched it. It was really interesting little. Yeah, I gave it a 4 if anything. Like I did enjoy it, and I'm not much on the silent films by any of those means, but I can get into that though. And like I said, I tried watching St. Joan, but I wasn't able to really finish it, in time. But that's fine. The next thing I watched was actually because it was turning 25 this year, and everyone on all the things on fucking social media reminded me. But I decided to watch Bring It On from 2000. I do own this movie on DVD, but it was also on Peacock, so I watched it there. For those who may not know, this movie is about a cheerleading squad in San Diego. And pretty much the old captain that they had been stealing routines from this inner city high school in Compton that is led by one Isis, Gabrielle Union. And pretty much it's found out that this has been happening. And so now the new captain, played by Kirsten Dunst, she is trying to make a new routine. She's trying to really right whatever this wrong was. And it's just a really interesting movie. I love this movie so much, personally. I think it has such a cool message to it that I think is not preachy. I think it's very well done, which is nice. And I just think everyone is hiring on a lot of the cylinders in this movie. And I'm really into that. I did do an episode on this before, but it's fucking Bring It On, man. And it's like one of the only movies in that series where I'm like, it's worth watching personally. I have not watched a ton of the other ones, but that is just my thoughts and opinion on it. But yeah. And then we're coming up on the end, obviously. But the next thing I watched, I've already talked about it before, so I won't go too in depth of what this is, because I did end just watching this last month. But I did watch The Legend of Billie Jean from 1985, because I did actually go on The Movies That Made Us Gay to go and guest on their episode about this. I had brought it actually to their attention. They had, they have respectively kind of seen it before. I know Pete did when he was younger, and Scott apparently thought he did, but this may actually be a first watch for him, actually. But yeah, I thought, oh my god, if you guys do I remember talking to Scott, I was like, if you do a Legend of Billie Jean episode, I definitely want to come on for it, because I like this movie, and why the hell not? So then they they called up, ring ring, and it was like, hey, let's do it. And so, and by rung up I mean we just talked over Instagram, and it was fine, but and we literally did it literally like on the 27th or something, and it was up like on the 30th. So that was just, yeah, it was literally like we did it on a Wednesday and it was up by Friday. It was ridiculous. But yeah, so I kind of enjoyed that though. It was a good time. And so I was like, okay, cool, awesome. And then the next thing I watched, for the final thing I watched for the month, I guess, was I decided to go on my Canopy list, and I was just thinking of what to watch or whatever. And so I decided to finally pull up, for some reason, I think it was maybe because I gave myself like a long like weekend or whatever for the holiday. So I was off work on Friday, and then I was off on Monday when I'm recording this. And I decided, I was like, okay, let me watch some sort of movie or whatever. And I decided to pull up on Anatomy of a Fall from 2023. This movie, for those who may not know, it's about this lady played by Sandra Hüller, and she is suspected of her husband's murder. Their blind son that they have is kind of the only witness to this, but also he's blind, so that presents an issue kind of too, but it's also just this like dilemma that's happening, and he's kind of going through it too. It's a really interesting little film. I don't know what really to say about it. It's kind of a mix of like a French movie, obviously, because it takes place in the Alps, I believe, but also it's like the French Alps, I guess. But then also like there's a little bit of English in there because Sandra Hüller is a German lady who's in this movie, but she speaks in a lot of English, of course, but because that was kind of that. And then she speaks French sometimes, but she does speak quite a bit of English, even though herself is like a German lady, of course. But yeah, so I don't know. I liked this movie though. I gave it a 4 and a little heart. I just think like it is a long movie. I will say that. Like, does it have to be that long like that? But I do really like just what they were doing in it. I think everyone's acting was really good. And yeah, I just think like it's a courtroom drama, and it's just something where it's just they're trying to get to the bottom of what has happened and the different inner workings of this relationship that they had, and like trying to be objective about it in this courtroom setting. It was just a really interesting little watch, and for those who may be interested in that kind of a thing and who might want to watch that kind of a thing, I would recommend it personally. So yeah, but that is what I watched in the month of August. Some of the things I want to watch in like September, I don't really know quite right now. I do want to, because of course, watching like Sandra Hüller, of course, I do want to actually watch The Zone of Interest, which for those who may not know, that's a movie that's literally about like, it's a movie about the Holocaust and, somebody living, this family of Nazis, like one of the Nazis, like living next to a concentration camp and, all that stuff. And it's like crazy. And it did win the Oscar, I think in 2024 or something, or it was like the best international film or whatever that year. So it makes enough sense, but yeah, I want to watch that because it's also Sandra Hüller, and also I don't remember his name, but like he's the guy from he's the dude who's the manager of the place in the White Lotus on the 3rd season. That's also the same guy who plays like this literal Nazi officer, which is always super fun to watch. But yeah, like it's just interesting to see these different people's like what they can do and stuff like that, and just like it's just really, really cool to see that. So to see how far they can kind of what's the word, like that they can like to do these different roles and stuff like that. And so I don't know, it's kind of cool to me. But yeah, that's what I watched, and so maybe I'll watch that and like some other fun shit. We do have the back to school theme going on, so I'll probably end up finishing some watches on some other stuff I haven't really completely watched yet, and all of that, and also trying to get ready for October and like the spooky season, I guess. I will tell you, I don't know how much I have planned right now for October, in terms of that. So we'll see how that comes along. I'll have to get my shit together with that. So that'll be interesting to say the least. So yeah, but I think that's really all I can think right now. But yeah, you just do the regular shit you normally do, like follow the show on social media, Instagram and Blue Sky. Those links are in the description. You can also follow me on Letterboxd as well, Jesse Kremp, and you can give me 5 stars, 1 to 2 cents ratings, review on your podcatcher of choice, and just see what else I'm going to be doing and what I'm going to be pulling up with and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, whatever you want to do, email me if you want. Email will be in the description as well, and all of that. But with all that being said, everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode, and I'll see you on the next one next month. Take care. Bye.